I want to look at one of these battleground seats that we've been doing profiles on. At the last two elections, the Liberal vote in the Melbourne heartland of Higgins has shrunk, a trend that could cost the coalition dearly if it continues this year. With a gain of just 7 seats required across the nation for a Labor win, some of Scott Morrison's re-election hopes hinge on retaining what was considered one of the safest of seats for the Libs. Julia Bradley has the latest in Sky's Battleground Breakdown series.
Higgins is the nation's 8th wealthiest electorate, taking in affluent inner eastern Melbourne suburbs like Toorak and South Yarra. It's a blue ribbon seat that's never left the Liberals in its 70-year history. Higgins holds a proud place in the Liberal legacy, the only electorate to produce 2 Prime Ministers, Harold Holt and Sir John Gorton, and more recently represented by senior figures like Peter Costello and Kelly O'Dwyer. But for the last few years, that legacy has come under threat amid a slow but significant shift to Labor and the Greens from the electorate's progressive base. Doctor and medical researcher Katie Allen is in her first term. She suffered a 6% swing against her in 2019, but held on despite her opponent's optimism she'd lose.
Bill Shorten was in Higgins on election day, so they were gunning for Higgins, and they thought they had it in the bag. And in fact, people left the polling booths from Labor at 3 o'clock and kind of said, "Where are you going?" And they literally said, "We're going home to celebrate."
3 years on, Higgins will play host to another closed contest. When the Victorian border reopened late last year, Prime Minister Scott Morrison rolled into the electorate.
How long do you have to make it?
Hoping his message of COVID recovery would cut through to business owners who were emerging from Melbourne's 6th shutdown. Higgins voters among those Melburnians to have endured the world's longest lockdown.
I came down from the honey yesterday up in Newcastle.
Opposition leader Anthony Albanese was there 4 days later alongside Labor candidate Michelle Ananda-Raja.
I'm Michelle, hello. Nice to meet you.
That is amazing.
An infectious diseases doctor at a major hospital in the electorate who was recently called in to work on the COVID ward because of Victoria's Code Brown, an emergency measure which reallocates staff to priority areas to deal with the surge in COVID admissions.
I came in at the peak of the Omicron wave. It wasn't a wave, it was like a tsunami actually that hit us, and we had a lot of sick patients. We had people who were dehydrated, confused.
But Michelle's campaign hasn't been without controversy. Last February, she appeared on an episode of Q&A criticising the AstraZeneca vaccine.
No, I feel that that is a population-level experiment. Personally, I'm not comfortable with that approach at all.
It was both unprofessional and I think to the point of dangerous, because those sorts of comments fuelled vaccine hesitancy.
Those comments were said in a context of a completely different period of time. You know, I've seen firsthand how these vaccines collectively have saved a lot of lives.
She was also widely criticised for a tweet linking Scott Morrison to a junior doctor's suicide, which was later taken down. She'll campaign on platforms such as health reform, integrity in government and climate change.
There is a laundry list of problems which have not been resolved and are not going to be resolved by the Morrison-Joyce government.
I heard loud and clear from the people of Higgins they want action on climate, and I have been a loud and strong voice inside the tent.
As is the case with many inner city seats, voters in Higgins are increasingly climate conscious. And while this electorate has always been Liberal held, a rising Greens vote has seen it shift from a safe seat to a marginal.
I think people are more environmentally conscious everywhere.
I care about the environment a lot.
If Katie Allen reclaims Higgins, she's made it clear she has big ambitions.
Would you like to be a minister?
100%. I have to win my seat and hold Higgins, but I feel like I've done a lot as a first-term MP.
But to advance those aspirations, she'll need to hold Higgins, an outcome that would go a long way in advancing Scott Morrison's election prospects as well.
So whereabouts around Higgins?
setting the stage here for a crucial campaign both locally and federally between two medical minds. Julia Bradley, Sky News in Higgins.